Hi, Gretsch Guitars here at NAMM 2017 with SchoolJam. My name's Adam, I'm the Gretsch product manager, and we're looking here at the new range of broadcaster guitars, which are the new center block range from Gretsch. This is the next generation from the Panther that we brought out a couple of years ago, and we've made a few little changes just to make them over the top much better than they were before. One of the biggest changes is the new pickups. Those pickups are USA-made Gretsch Filtertron pickups. We're calling these the Fulltrons because they're slightly more powerful with a higher mid-range output than the classic Gretsch Filtertrons, which is designed especially so you can drive an amp into that sweet spot of overdrive. And combined with the center block on these guitars, you don't have any fear of undue feedback. So really great sounding pickups. Neck pickups got Alnico 5, bridge pickups got Alnico 2 for that really warm, nice vintage sound. This particular guitar also features a lovely flame top. I'm going to flip the guitar around as well so you can see the back. Look at the flame on that. That's really beautiful. It really pops. Combined with that aged vintage white binding. Really beautiful guitar. Up the neck here you can see that we have Goto locking tuners. As part of the Player's Edition, these guitars all have the Player's Edition feature set, which includes locking tuners, and around the front, a Graphtec Tusk XL nut, medium jumbo frets, we have shallow strap locks, a treble bleed on the volume control and no load tone control, yeah, that's the feature set for the Player's Edition. These are player-centric guitars. They're designed to play every song every night. They have power, they have fidelity, they have great overdriven tones and unsurpassed clean tones. Just a beautiful, versatile guitar. If the guitar's a little big for you, these are 16-inch wide. We also have introduced the junior model, available in either a figured wood or this gorgeous metallic Cadillac green. So these guitars are 14 inches wide, still semi-hollow with a spruce center block down the middle. All the features I mentioned on the other guitar, but just a little bit more manageable in terms of the physical size of the thing. Single cutaway, headstock matching to the body. Great little guitar. For those guys who want to maintain perhaps a classic Gretsch aesthetic and tonality, but want all the features of the Player's Edition and reduce feedback of the center block, we also have the white Falcon center block guitar. So classic white Falcon aesthetic, the white finish with the gold sparkle binding and that big Falcon headstock with the vertical logo. Classic Gretsch look, but with modern playability and a modern feedback reducing tone. Very focused. These ones have the classic Gretsch Filtertrons in, so you do get the more vintage Gretsch tonality, but with that feedback battling feature of the center block. And finally, in the center block range, the Nashville. So classic 6120 aesthetic, but in the double cutaway thin line format. All those Player's Edition features I mentioned, the strap locks, the Graphtec nut, locking tuners, the whole shebang. You can really turn these ones up, crank the amp up, rock out. And we're looking here at the new Gretsch Professional Collection Vintage Select Solid Body series. Last year we upgraded all our hollow bodies. This year it's all about the solid bodies and center blocks. We talked earlier about the Player's Edition center block models, and these are now the solid bodies from the Vintage Select series, which is all about being authentic and historically accurate, to the original guitars from the particular years we've chosen. This Durojet is the 1953 model, so the first year of production for the Durojet. It features some specs that are almost like a prototype for this particular model. There's no inlay at the first fret, for example. The headstock shape is slightly different to the regular model you'll find later in the 50s. All Player's Edition, all Vintage Select Edition models have TV Jones pickups on. This one is no exception. It has TV Jones T-Armond pickups based on the original Dynasonics. And next to that you have the single ply white pickguard, which was the first issue Jets all had. This one has got the old style Bigsby without the painted trough in there, and it's got the aluminium bridge. With these guitars we've gone vintage where vintage makes sense, so we have a few hidden features which make the guitar just a really cool playable thing. So the bridge is pinned, the bridge is not going to slide about, when you start rocking out and strumming hard, the bridge will stay put, and so you'll stay in tune, and the intonation will stay correct. It also has a treble bleed on the volume control and medium jumbo frets. So these are all things which do not detract from the vintage look of the guitar, but make it a much more playable and versatile instrument. So that's the 53 Jet. Next up we have the 57 Jet. Again, all authentic appointments. We particularly chosen this beautiful metallic Cadillac green on this model. The originals from the original 57 model, very, very rare. Again, TV Jones T-arm and pickups. The hump block inlays on this guitar are unique to 1957 models. We've got aged perloid on those hump blocks and gold-plated hardware on this model. Very cool and based on a very rare guitar indeed. 1957 Jet. Next up, 58, and the king of the guitars, the Penguin, one of the rarest guitars from the 50s and early 60s. They only made about 50 pieces of the original. We are reproducing what would have been the 1958 version here. You have the plain pickup surrounds instead of the sculpted ones from later. You have the space control bridge. You have the period correct Bigsby. This is a nitrocellulose lacquer vintage white finish. Tone switch, the armrest, and again the hidden stuff, the treble bleed, the medium jumbo frets, just to keep this as a beautifully playable guitar. Bone nut, classic Gretsch headstock with that vertical logo from early 58. They introduced the horizontal one later in 58, but we went with the vertical because we think it looks cool, so why not? That's the Penguin. Next up, 59 Durajet. This is probably the classic Durajet, what people think about when they see a Jet, but we've made it just really authentic to the era. 59, white painted plastic pickguard. TV Jones classic Filtertron humbuckers on here. The period correct Bigsby, age binding, bone nut, walnut stained headstock, classic. And again, those hidden features, treble bleed, medium jumbo frets, pinned bridge, and then we have the 59 here as well, which has the silver sparkle. So same specs as the one I just showed you, but with that silver sparkle top, which is really something else. It really pops. That age binding makes it really stand out as a beautiful instrument. Finally, in this range, Vintage Select, we went for the 62. We did a 62 before, but that was black with chrome hardware. We've now gone gold hardware and the aged Firebird red finish. This is the sort of guitar that we might salute you with, if you know what I mean. Guitar as played by famous rhythm guitar players from famous rock bands before they mucked about with them. So really beautiful. TV Jones classic pickups, tone switch, standby switch because that's what they had in 62. Zero fret on the bone nut, the zero fret there. So all classic 62 appointments, but a beautiful guitar. I mean, black back and sides. That's a rocking guitar, man. Really cool. So that is the Vintage Select series of Gretsch solid body instruments. I should say at this point we call them solid bodies, but they're not. They're all chambered. They're lightweight, they're resonant, they've got a lot of air moving around inside. Fully chambered bodies really opens up the sound, makes these unique sounding Gretsches. Just they'll fit into any mix, they'll punch through the mix. These are the solid bodies to have in any band. And we are in the quiet corner of the Gretsch booth because this is where the acoustic instruments are. This is the Roots series. Behind me you can see the really successful range of instruments we've had for the last few years. Ukuleles, mandolins and all that sort of thing. This is the really vibey instruments that we do here in the Roots series. But this year we've decided to go more heavily into the guitar side of things. So we've introduced these three new models of parlor guitar, 12 fret neck join, really cool little guitars, really affordable. We have the Style 1, the Style 2 and the Style 3 models. They all have solid spruce tops, they all have laminate mahogany back and sides. They each have a unique bracing pattern that's designed specifically for the individual guitar, for the particular voice we want for those guitars. So let's start with the Style 1. This is kind of the baby of the gang. It's got quite basic aesthetic appointments, just a really classy, simple pinstripe binding and sound hole rosette there, and the little snowflake inlays up the neck. and the rosewood overlay on the headstock. Really lightweight, these guitars. The bracing, on all of these guitars is quarter sawn spruce, and it's very thin and it's very resonant. Guitars are super lightweight, they're super resonant, they're loud, they project. For the money, you are getting a lot more sound than you bargained for here. Being 12 fret to the body, the bridge is slightly further back, makes the top resonate in a different way, aids that projection and volume. This one has also got the vintage style plastic buttons on the headstock. They are gloss finishes on the body, but they have satin finish on the back of the neck for a smooth playing experience. Just really beautifully made guitars. So that's style 1. Style 2, we like to play around a bit, so we put a slotted headstock on this one. Slotted headstocks are just cool, so we go with, here at Gretsch, we like to go with stuff that's cool. And that's one of the things that we're doing. They all have bone nuts, by the way. Again, 12 frets to the body, solid spruce top. This one's got a little bit more upmarket in the aesthetic of the thing. We have this herringbone binding around the edge and around the rosette. Simple dot inlays on this one. We're mixing it up a bit. And if we look at the shape of this one in terms of the side, you see how narrow it is up here and how deep it goes down here, kind of a wedge shape, specifically designed to complement the bracing pattern and have this particular voice for this particular guitar. Really suited to fingerstyle, old-time country blues. And this is the daddy of the bunch, style 3. With this one we've gone with a much more elaborate herringbone purfling on here and a soundhole rosette. We've added a tortoiseshell pickguard and the B&D style inlays up the neck, bound headstock, bone nut, and then that wonderful tortoiseshell overlay. Because it's Gretsch, because we think it looks classy, we think it looks cool. I'm sure you'll agree that is just one hell of a guitar for the money. And that is the Gretsch Roots series. They all have the Appalachia cloudburst finish, very evocative of the era, early 20th century kind of vibe, but they strum well, they pick well, whatever you want to do with them, thumb pick, flat pick, they'll suit all sorts of styles. They're just very, very cool little guitars. So that's Gretsch Roots series here at NAMM 2017, and I'll catch you on the flip side.